And then I'm going to share my screen so that you guys can see this. I need to get it a little bit bigger so you guys can see that probably. Come on, computer. I'm just going to move us all out of the way here. All right, so just trying to move us out of the way so we can see some things. All right, so this is kind of what we're talking about today, just some of the ideas that we've got to discuss here that I threw out there, as maybe some of you have seen. One of the things here, the first one is what ideas we have to help the kids complete their projects. And Jamie, you mentioned something, if you're still on there, you mentioned something about, can I share videos with kids? Absolutely. So sharing videos could be YouTube. It could be, I'm hearing somebody there.
Mm-hmm.
Hi. It's Ida and Hildred.
Hey, Ida and Hildred, welcome aboard. So can you guys see this on your computer? I'm sharing my screen here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So we're just talking, we're just jumping in here and we're just talking about this list of questions that I put together yesterday just as an idea of what things we can do to kind of help our kids complete projects and what we do in this kind of new way of operating and all that good stuff. There's Henry for you, Jamie. Henry, stop.
Put him on the screen.
Put him on. It's a little bit difficult. Well, maybe it's not that difficult because I've got my laptop right now. Here, Henry. Let's see. Can you see him there? There's Henry. He's not so ugly. Here's Cody.
You're a mean man.
There's Cody right there. And Henry. All right. And here's me. All right. So some of the things we can do, absolutely, it's about finding ways that we can do things using technology. For those of you who have smartphones, to record things. And share with the kids.
What about for their demonstration if they record themselves?
Mm-hmm. So the kids can definitely do their demonstrations and record it and share. That would meet that requirement for sure. There may be other, look for other online resources, and I'm sure that the 4-H somewhere here in Colorado or other areas will have resources and tools and so forth over the next few weeks and months and stuff as this kind of unfolds. So, because we're not going to be the only ones in this boat, but it's, I think it's important for all of us to kind of put eyes on this and talk about what the game plan is moving forward. Some of the states are doing things a little bit differently. Some are a little bit more aggressive. Some of the counties, even here in Colorado, are choosing to do things a little bit differently. I actually had a meeting with my supervisor down in Pueblo yesterday, and he was the one who suggested that I actually close up the offices, because the reality is a lot of our 4-H leaders are in that at-risk group, and it doesn't make sense to take those kind of risk for when we've got other options available to us. So so we'll have some tools or resources, if I can spell, in the near future, I'm sure. We can do videos, like for those of you, I can do stuff like this with these recordings. I can upload them. If you guys have stuff that you want me to put on the website, since you can't do it, we can meet one-on-one with stuff. So that we can, it's the group gatherings and stuff, or those who are in the more high risk categories. I don't want, our leaders who kind of fall into that, or who have family members that they have to go back to who fall in that. So even if it's a kid who's likely not going to get hurt by this, it's them taking it back to their grandparents or to a family member in case somebody has it. So we're just trying to be prudent about this. Oops. What? Oh, okay. So, I mean, those are some of the ideas that we've got as far as helping kids complete their projects. Again, we don't know how long this is going to be going on. So if it's just a few weeks or a month, that's one thing. If it's, 2-3 months, that's a whole nother story, and we'll have to adjust. Right now, it's the April 10th is there. I'm not sure why they picked that date or time. It may have something to do with on-campus stuff, but that's coming from the mothership on those dates. That's not something I created. That's something that they did. So we'll just have to kind of readjust some of that stuff as time goes on and as new information and updates come about. As far as club meetings go, it's, that's not a mandatory kind of thing. That doesn't, it's nice to have some stuff. You as club leaders, some of you on here are club leaders. Certainly you can send some stuff out, just like we have a number 1 there. You can send some stuff out to the kids. You can give them some things to think about. You can even probably, if you have some things you've got to pay, that's going to be the thing that's a little bit challenging is writing of checks or doing of business that you might have to do. Most of you don't have to do too much of that other than shooting sports. Stephanie, are you still on?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. You guys are going to be you and the horse crew are going to be the most affected by this because you guys meet so often typically. So
yeah, that's actually what I wanted to clarify. So at this point, we don't need to do our 2 to 3 weeks or 2 to 3 times a week practices / meetings at this point.
No, in fact, we're saying.
Because I'm going to have to notify Bob.
Right, and I sent out email. Like I said, I did that last night with everybody.
Okay.
Emails, but he may not have gotten it. Although he's pretty good about being on email. But since I was having this meeting today, I was hoping maybe one of you guys would be on there. But yeah, Bob, you guys are going to be the biggest because you guys shoot so often and do things so often. We're just going to be proactive here because. And just kind of stop things for a bit here until we can read.
I completely understand. With schools closed, everything like that, I think it's a good opportunity for the kids, everyone to be a little bit isolated and get well. The kids, the high school, the middle school where my kids are, it's been crazy. It seems like a cycle of the cold and flu season.
Absolutely. So really for the club meetings, there's really not a huge amount we have to, kids aren't completing projects in there. We won't worry about community service stuff, because that is a group gathering and we don't want to have group gatherings. So,
Well, and even making cookies to donate, that would be considered a no-no at this time, right?
They can do it on their own and donate it to some place. What somebody like in our community, because my wife is a minister, has done is they're a younger gentleman and they are in good shape. And they said, you know what, instead of you in the community going out and, the older, because we got in our churches, obviously a lot of older people there, instead of the older people going out to the grocery stores, interacting in this way, he said, let us know. And this younger cadre, the 2 or 3 of them said that they would go out and get groceries, drop stuff off, get medication, any of those kind of things that they can do to keep that higher risk population from interacting with people. So, it's just being smart about that, especially if you or someone that you are in very close contact as family members are in that high risk category, it'd be smart to keep yourselves away or out of this until it's passed, because that's that would be a scary thing to get and to have to deal with. And in fact, we're dealing with somebody in our community here who may have the COVID they were tested yesterday, so we'll know Sunday or Monday. And so I'm actually self-quarantining myself right now because I was in direct contact with them. Well, I was sitting a seat behind them for 2 hours on Monday evening. So it's those kind of things. It's like, oh, it's very real for me right now because I'm in there. I had to call all my master gardeners Jamie, good for you. You weren't there the other night. But I had to call all my master gardeners yesterday and Laura at the office and several other people who I was in direct contact with and said, hey, just to give you a heads up, I'm self-quarantining right now because until I find out whether this person has test positive or negative, and then we'll go from there. But I'm just let all those people know who I was in contact with that, well, if something happens, you might want to just minimize your contact with people because if I show up hot, then you guys will have to self-quarantine as well. So it's just that kind of staying present and being aware of what we're doing, all those things that the CDC is talking about, and is really taking those to heart and minimizing those kind of situations. But that being said, Melissa, if there are things like I said, like some of our community members are doing here, some of our 4-H members, I know that Hildred, I spoke with her yesterday, and her daughter is going to be picking up groceries and stuff for her, so that Hildred doesn't have to go out and interact with those communities. So there are some things that we can do if that's something that you feel like your family is fairly safe. Like my wife and I even though I could be a carrier at this point, I am personally not worried about it because I'm in good shape and health and everything like that. So I'm not worried about the impact other than having to work through the flu if it comes to that. So I would make myself available as long as I'm not showing positive or anything like that. I can make myself available myself to help out, to do service to those communities. So we can do things individually like that. I'm going to go down here. Anything else about club meetings that there's really nothing that we have to do in the club meeting.
I think it's important to stay in touch. So,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
stay in touch.
yeah,
There are
that's
so many people,
Mhm.
new people. It's going to be important that we stay in touch with them or we lose them.
And that's not going to be a problem because it would be like whatever I would have had for the agenda, but get a hold of all of them, text or however they want to do it and let them know what's coming up or what's going on, especially with these changes. Maybe something new will come up, but just keep in touch because we do have a lot of new members.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Ida and Hildred there. One of the things that's kind of really important here, especially if we go to a little bit, especially if it comes to that point where like they are in Italy, where it's a complete lockdown basically, or in China, I guess too, is that, yeah, we're going to need some of that social communication through these. And again, it's nice that we've got these technologies to be able to do some of this. I can get on and, as long as technology is in my favor that day, and luckily I've got more than one option here. So when my main computer didn't work, I can jump over here. But we can do stuff. I can record stuff like this. I can bring you all on and we can have a conversation. It's why I wanted to do this as quickly as possible today for those who could make it in a very short time frame, is exactly that, is to talk about what we can do, to see what the options are, this is not about fear mongering. It's about, what do we do? This is a smart thing to do right now. We want to keep that peak as low. We want to do some, keep that curve, as they're saying, flatten the curve. And we do that by making smart decisions.
Can I actually make a comment about using the videos?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're I was planning on putting some training videos up on YouTube, but
Yep.
I would think that you would want to make those private so only your 4-H kids can see them, so you don't get trolled and they see all these negative or weird comments about like what you're doing, the training and that sort of thing.
Yeah, sure. So, and we can talk more about how to do that. If you're doing YouTube videos that it's not open to the public, or it's only, you send, most of the people aren't going to be searching for that, but you're right. That's a good point there, Jamie. So, And for those who don't know what getting trolled means, it's basically people come in and make rude comments or make fun of what's going on, and it, you know, it's really quite a cruel kind of thing that people do. But it's called trolling on the social media or social end of things. So so that's a really good point, Jamie. Thank you. We've got our small animal weigh-in. Is there, I guess before that, is there anything else as far as club meetings go or even project meetings? And I guess we got that number 6 there. Project meetings are going to be the same kind of stuff as we've kind of already been discussing here. We find ways to post things. Maybe that was up here. Yeah, projects up here. So sharing videos, looking for online resources, all those kind of things. For small animal weigh-in, we'll just have to play it by ear. Because if it opens up, if April 10 really is the end, or if even it pushes out to, let's say, the end of April, and by May we're up and running again, then it's not an issue. But if it gets extended past that kind of time frame, then we may have to kind of ixnay the weigh-in or stop the weigh, or don't do the weigh-in, and do what we did a few years ago with the swine when we had the swine issue going on. Is that we just don't weigh them, and we don't finish out that portion in the record books. So we don't know what the rate of gain is or any of those kind of things. We can't figure out those computations. So we can still complete the project, assuming this will end before fair time. So we can still have the kids working at home on their projects, doing their day-by-day stuff. We could even do some livestock stuff online the same way as any other indoor project, with livestock videos of here's what you guys should be looking at. Horse is going to be probably the most difficult one with that, because it's really about getting on your animal and riding, although the kids can do that on their own. It's just that you're not going to have that critique, I guess, or guidance of the leaders to help adjust bad form and so forth. So we call this anthem. And still complete without the weigh-in. We'll need to do what? We'll need to perfect. MQA. So this is, I don't think any of you on here. Maybe nope. There's nobody on here, I don't think, at this point who's required to do MQA. But that's obviously for all our. Who was that?
Nikki is my daughter.
Oh, Nikki, yeah, and sure, and Ida too. So my bad. So with Rabbit. So
Yes.
several of the kids who need to do the MQA, what we're working on right now at the state. So it's being worked on at state to put together an online training with a testing center. So we'll get that out once we know what that is and make sure that the kids get through that. There is also another option available that's already completed. There's some cost associated with that. And we're going to try to do this in lieu of that. So, but worst case scenario, there's already a program in place that we could send out that you guys could go online, purchase it's a coupon or whatever it is. I think it's $5 or $10, maybe as much as 15 even, that you'd have to do an online program with. So we could do that as well. So there's some options.
Question there, Mark.
Yes.
Is that something that the kids could pay for?
Yeah, it could be if we needed to go in that direction, absolutely, that either myself or the clubs or the foundation. Yeah, so absolutely. We're going to stay with the cheapest. Yeah, we're going to wait and see what the state comes out with as far as that goes and see if that meets our needs.
So I'm assuming that what the state is probably looking at is similar to the volunteer training?
Something like that, correct.
Okay.
It'll
'Cause
probably
it
be,
was easy.
yeah, it'll be probably, my guess is it'll be even more simplistic than that because those are modules and everything. My guess is it's going to be more like a video like this with a PowerPoint. So you guys are seeing the PowerPoints there where somebody like myself or another agent is kind of doing an online training this way and recording it. And then there will be an online test that is, that may be a little bit more secure or something, so you can't get a hold of it ahead of time or who knows what. It'll be fairly simplistic though. But yes, Melissa, it'll be something like that online video piece, only I think even more simplistic.
Okay. Might be good to have that option anyway.
Correct, correct, correct. So like I said, we can cover the cost if we end up going this other route here. All right, so perfect. The next one is we're in the process of doing livestock clinics. What should we do moving forward? So we've got one that we're looking at again for horse, one for rabbit, one for poultry still again this year, I think. And a dog, I think, is another one. So those are all canceled at this point. In fact, fairgrounds were taken completely over by the county, and they have cleaned everything off the slate just in case they need to do some kind of, I guess, make that a quarantine location or something like that would be my guess, since it's
Quarantine.
it's moved away from people. They've got heat and everything up there. It's a big open building, so I'm guessing. I haven't. That's conjecture. That's not facts. I was saying that. Oh, Mark said this. I'm just guessing that's why they've cleared the schedule. If I were them, that's what I would do.
Yeah.
And so the other thing is just to kind of keep in mind, and I mentioned it in an email yesterday, is that what's in place right now that I kind of put in place yesterday after getting direction from the state and then from my direct supervisor. This is all stuff coming from CSU. If something blows up in the county here and they go more restrictive on stuff, we'll always go by the most restrictive instead of the least restrictive. So if the county, right now, CSU's policy is more restrictive than the county's, so we're going with CSU's, which is why we're having this meeting and talking about options. Like I said, though, if that changes and something happens specifically in Teller County, we have several dozen outbreaks and people in compromised positions and our beds are getting taken up and so forth with that, then they may go to a total lockdown. And in that case, we would abide completely by that. So I just want to put that out there as that. So, but right now for all the clinics, we're going to not do any of those for this year unless we get past that time frame. We could tentatively, I guess that's up. Jamie and Ida and I guess it'd be Donna and Chuck. You guys will have to let me know if you want me to just kind of tentatively put it on the books and cancel it later on, or if you'd rather just at this point go, you know what, let's just ignore it. Let's just not do it for this year. So
I'd say whatever's easiest for you at this point.
Well, obviously the easiest thing, the easiest thing would be not to do it, because otherwise we can put it on the books and then I've got to go through the rounds again. But I'm just going to say, let me know your preference.
Kind of goes back to an earlier portion of our conversation, but as far as the clinics go, YouTube videos again, or some kind of video.
Yeah, it's a little bit more difficult for the horse. I think certainly for rabbits, we could probably get something for that for poultry. And dog, I think it's probably same with you, Jamie. It's a I mean, maybe there's some good videos out there. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it is, and the kids can learn really well through the videos. But some of that's really technique of going, okay, you see how, let me show you here how you're just a little bit off. But again, we can, yeah, so I don't know. I mean, again, part of this is driven right now. There is no use of the fairgrounds at all. So I can't even get up there. I know that most of you wanted to do the clinics up there anyway. At least I know dog, or at least I believe dog and horse for sure wanted to be up there just so that the animals can get used to that arena or that area. Rabbit can probably is not any big deal anywhere to do that, or poultry. So, okay. I think we've already discussed the project kind of stuff. Again, keeping communication. So keeping communication with the kids and families to keep them engaged. Answer any questions. Especially the new families, because they're going to be the ones who just don't understand this so crazy thing called 4-H. And when they don't have as much face-to-face interaction, that creates even more separation and anxiety and unknowingness. So the more that we can be in communication with them, the better, I think, overall that we can work through and let them know that they're being supported here, that we can be used as a resource, that we can do. I mean, I can get on with any of them in Skype this, or we can do it with Skype. Anybody who has a smartphone can do it, and through Facebook, through the Facebook streaming or video, or Skype. I mean, there's so many tools available nowadays that, you know, if I were having a project, I could just have my phone out there and show them what I was talking about and do a demonstration and say, okay, this is what we're talking about. You understand what we're looking for? Let's look at our record books here. How are you doing there? You know, how, you know, I'm just going to put that down at the, whoops. Because we don't want them to, I mean, that ends up being the thing that makes it feel like a whole lot of work come fair time, is that their record books are not done, and then they've got to push it through in the last day or two, and it feels like a bunch of pain and suffering on the kids and the family's part and the parents' part. So, so that's an important thing just to keep in, again, as Hildred and Ida mentioned, I think it's really important, and several of the rest of you, it's really important to keep in communication with our kiddos and with our families for those of you, all of you leaders here. So, and I'll send this out to everybody. So, you know, it's also, you guys have that updated list. I'll send that out again to get today with this video, the list of all the projects and the contact information, so the leaders can contact the kids and the families can contact the leaders and stuff and say, hey, this is where I'm stuck, or I don't understand this. And I'm just going to ask if the leaders, if you get emails or phone calls, please be responsive to those family members who are reaching out for help. And again, especially those new families who don't know what they're supposed to be doing. I know it means a little bit more work on your part, but I'm asking that of you to do a little bit better or more. Just be more responsive because I've had several calls here recently from families who are saying, hey, I've reached out to my leaders. I haven't heard back from them. I don't know what to do. So if you would please be extra, I guess, on top of things and just respond more quickly maybe than in the past with stuff, that would be deeply appreciated during these times. Anything else with the project meetings? Again, we've got lots of the same kind of tools. It's not obviously anywhere near as good as being face-to-face, but it is an alternative here to doing that. The next item then is Camp Eagle. So that's, for those of you who don't know, that's our county camp. And that's open to all of our kids. It is scheduled for the Mother's Day weekend. I'm not sure why I put K, 8 to 10. It's actually May. That's a capital. May 8 to 10. So this is all an unknown. You know, that's almost a month past the current projected timeline with stuff. But looking at what's going on in other countries, it's a 10 to 12 week kind of process, it looks like. And so that would push us well into that time frame there on the May 8th and 10th. So we're just going to have to kind of play it by ear. I'm not sure how John Wesley Ranch is, so here, not sure what Ranch's policy is on canceling. So we'll have to pay attention to that.
So, Mark,
Yes.
since I'm new to the county, and I know we're talking about, you know, what if it doesn't happen, but if it does happen, what is the cost associated with that?
I'm thinking so. Our foundation pays part of it, and again, for all these camps and conferences, one of the things you can reach into your clubs for is to ask for financial support. And historically, the clubs have covered a third of the cost. As long as the kids come back and do a presentation to the clubs have covered a third of the cost of the conferences or camps. So currently, I think it was, if I had my work computer up, I could tell you.
Roundabout.
100 or 125. Does that sound right, Ida or Hildred, or anybody else who was there last?
We did last year, and it was 100, or it was what we put in.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Somewhere around $100.
Okay.
And that includes, like, I think Friday everybody checks in, or maybe it's Saturday, I can't remember. I know the junior leaders, or our older kids, and the adult leaders check in on Friday. I'm not sure if that's when the kids check in or not. I have to look at the schedule. I keep forgetting of the year, but certainly they're there all day Saturday and then Sunday. So this is over Mother's Day weekend, so which seems like a weird thing to do. But a lot of we started this like 4 or 5 years ago because we didn't get the our time slot scheduled in enough time, and that was the only weekend available was Mother's Day weekend. We thought, well, this is going to be just a bust, but we're going to go through with it anyway. If you have 2 or 3 families, then we'll have 2 or 3 families and recognize we need to choose a different weekend. Well, we had a really full group, and the parents came in Sunday morning, and the kids made the mother's brunch, and they've been doing that since then. And they usually have a little knick-knack, patty-whack kind of thing that Jamie, give your dog a bone, that are the kids make for their mothers, and the parents tended to really like that because they got to kind of get a weekend alone with their significant other, which is kind of a rarity, and then still have the contact with their kids on Sunday and to be, you know, appreciated in that environment where the kids are all, you know, doing a brunch for them on Sunday morning. So it's turned out really well, actually. So right now I'll have to reach out to Hilltop and see because they tend to put it on. I know Lily Allen is doing some stuff, and Kendra, I'm sure that the Snares and that the Adams are both pretty much involved with that, and probably maybe even Ida, you and Hildred have been doing some stuff with them as well, planning that. I'm a little bit out of the loop on that, but we'll have to see if there's any policy on canceling and kind of play it by ear, see what maybe even John Wesley Ranch, if they've shut down or closed things down because of the situation at hand. So it's all lots of unknowns here. I apologize for that, but we'll just have to kind of watch and wait.
And that was for all ages?
It's for all ages. So including our Clover Bud kids. So,
Okay.
So there's different activities we have. The kids kind of put together certain things. It's a lot of, you know, they tend to really like it. What's nice about this particular camp is that it's one of the few times other than county fair and achievement banquet that all of our county kids come together. And so it's you know, it's in May, so it's several months before fair. So what's nice is it gives the kids an opportunity to meet with other kids that they otherwise wouldn't meet with, and create relationships and friendships, and you know, and so it's a nice opportunity to kind of really make some deeper bonds that then once you hit fair times, like, oh, I remember we were at Camp Eagle together, and so those relationships are already established. So and it helps break, I don't want to say break up, but undo some of the cliques that typically happen with families who have been in 4-H for a long time. It's just a natural thing. We're all friends and everything, so everybody knows everyone. And so it's pretty easy for them to stay in their little client clickers thing, and having this overall camp then kind of breaks it up and gets everybody to know everybody else, which makes it again a lot nicer that way. So again, it's just a wait and play it by ear with things. County fair is another question mark. We don't know. At this time, we don't have access to the fairgrounds in any foreseeable future. Although it's on the books, so if this all lifts and we're past that by fair time, then it's not an issue. Oops. The thing to remember is we don't need the county fair to complete a project. There are other ways of doing that, so we may have to become creative if that's what kind of unfolds. We could, so again, a lot of unknowns in this.
Back when
What's
I was a kid,
Mm-hmm.
back when I was a kid, we had one day we exhibited our projects, and that was it. And maybe that's something we'll have to go back to. I mean, just brought your project in that day, they were judged in, and more ribbons were put on them, and that was it. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, there's just so many unknowns at this point, and that's so far off that it's hard to speculate. But you're right. If we're still in quarantine, we obviously won't be able to come together and judge. But what we could do is, if it goes that long, that means there's probably not going to be a state fair either. So it's all kind of a moot point. It's going to be, these kids we just may carry it over to the next year, right? So we may just carry things on to 2021, and they'll have all those projects already done, and they can still take new projects. We won't charge you twice for things, and we'll take all of them to the county fair. We'll have an extra large county fair, and that's not necessarily a bad thing either. So there's some options here that we just don't exactly know how to unfold and where they're going to go. There was one other thing that Lily Allen asked me, but I can't remember. I was remembering it halfway through this, and now it's skipped my mind, but let me look at it on my phone real quick.
You're out front doing poop.
Because she sent me an email and says, well, how about this? Or what about this? And I was like, oh, that's a good question. I put it on my other computer here. Let me see what she said. Oh, horse testing, level 1 horse testing. So because in order for kids to be able to go to state fair with a horse project, or to even some of the county or county-based horse events, they have to have what's called level 2 certification. They have to pass level 2, which is written test and writing test. Horse. So we have a test. Whoops. We have a written test that is scheduled for coming up here, I think next weekend. So we can't. So we won't be able to do it as a group. We can't do it as a group, but we can have you come in individually. So schedule with me individually, and I'll send this all out to the horse kids and to Donna and Chuck to make sure they've got that. But the Cabernas have already scheduled with me to come in on a different day. So we can do this individually, so we're not doing this group get together with stuff, and that will be fun. And that can happen with either Laura or myself. So we'll send out a little link to all the horse kids who are planning on doing some levels written tests anyway. All right. Anything else that's
I have a question.
Yeah.
If you have just one-on-one, can you do that? If you do one kid at a time,
Yeah, I'd rather not, Hildred, because that's really getting away from what we're trying to do. I understand why you're saying, what about one-on-one? I mean, and I get that. But I'm going to say no at this time because I'm going to include you in this group because I know that's what you'll want to do, Hildred, and you are one of the people who I want to really make sure don't get around a lot of people because, like your family said, you need to be quarantined there. So quarantine yourself and stay away from people because we care about you and we don't want you, and we know how much you love the projects and how much you love the kids and stuff. But I'd rather have you around than make an exception here and end up having. I know. So.
I guess my receiver is a smartphone.
It's a good question, but I'd rather not do that. So. But I will say contact directly with unique situations. And this is probably true of shooting sports and other groups, that there's this one thing like with the horse levels, the horse kids can't go to state fair unless they've got this testing done. So they have to do the testing. So how do we do that? You can't, and it has to be a in-person test because it can't be something that gets out. I mean, that's part of the state requirements with that. So it's not like, yeah, let me send you the test online. I can't do that. It's part of that. So there has to be an in-person, in the office kind of thing, but one-on-one is okay. Our office is still staying open, at least for now. And so we can do things along those lines. But good question. Anything else?
So how are we going to be contacting you? Oh, or is that changing?
How are we going to be contacting? What was that, Ida?
You, contacting you.
Oh, you can contact me via, I'll still have, I will, even if I'm quarantined from my office, I can log into all my stuff from home. I do it all the time when I'm traveling and doing stuff like that. So it's no different for me other than you won't see me if we get quarantined and everybody's out, or if I get quarantined because of the situation like I mentioned earlier. So it's business as usual as far as that goes for the most part. I know some of you need to come in and get handouts and those kind of things. We won't be able to do that quite unless, as long as we can keep our offices open, that still is not an issue. Let's say, Ida, that you need some handouts or something made, or I know for shooting sports, sometimes Bob needs us to make some printouts of stuff. As long as our offices are open and we can make those and do that, that is still not an issue. You guys can stop in. For those of you who are not, I would suggest those of you who are more who are in that group that we don't want to have compromised, that you send somebody else to go get that for you, so that you have the minimum impact or minimum contact with people. I might just want to be smart about this, everyone. So yes, business is fairly as much as usual. Like I said, at the end of this, I will have this recorded. I will put it up. I'll make a YouTube link to it, and then I'll send it out to everybody along with the updated kind of the minutes that we've kept here for it. And then I'll make sure to keep in contact with you all kind of this way as well, and through emails and some stuff like that, and ask if there are any questions that come up, because there's going to be more questions, obviously, as we go through this. Probably more questions than answers, unfortunately, at this point. But that's what we do, right? We're here still as a community. We're here still to support each other. We still want to support the kids and make sure that they have as good of experience as possible, although it won't be as good as what it normally would be, I would say. But we're going to do our best. And I so appreciate all of you for continuing to give your time and effort. And the most important thing here is that you take care of yourself. Remember, that is what's more important than whether a kid finishes a project or not, because they can always take a project next year. You know, we always have those options. So don't feel like you need to compromise your own well-being because a kid needs something or a family needs something, unless it really truly is a need of some sort. But that is all I have. My wife has to get on and do a webinar herself. So unless there's any last minute questions, I'm going to call this done.
Well, I thought of something real quick.
Okay.
So the project books, I'm assuming everybody has them by now?
Well, it depends
And
on
if not, does the state have a soft copy that they can view, since we're trying to limit?
No. So what we could do, no, that's a good, so again, many projects don't require the project books. We give them to all new members. They are good tools and resources. That's a really good question, Melissa. But what we could do is the ones that Laura hasn't sent out yet, we can mail them directly to the families instead of having them pick them up at club meetings. If the club leaders have additional ones that kids haven't picked up, bring them back to the office and we'll mail them out from there. Again, that one-on-one individual, that's a great question. And we'll mail them out to the kids that way. As long as we've got the kids' names. So don't just bring back a stack of books that don't have the names on them. I think Laura's put little stickies on every one of them. So make sure those stay on there so we know who those are actually going to. And that, my friends, I have to go because my wife is getting ready to go live here.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks so much.
Have a good day, everyone.